Alright, cut the music. Welcome back, everybody, to an episode of Slam Talk Sports. It is Slam, of course. Slam I am, Mr. Darcy Duncan. It is not a glorious Friday afternoon. It is 2 o'clock here in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia, and it is cloudy skies and some very, very dark thoughts entering my brain. Of course, it is week 2 of the AFL Finals. There's plenty of football to discuss. I'll get into that in just a moment. If you want to catch my review of week 1 of the finals and my tips for this week, you can catch it at Fancast AFL over on YouTube and every good podcasting platform. But today I want to start with Essendon talk. I have to start with Essendon talk and really the despair and desolate nature of my football club this past week. Earlier in the week, we received news that Sam Draper, Essendon's number 1 ruckman, is leaving the football club. He's decided to take up a free agent offer from the Brisbane Lions Football Club. He has said, Essendon, you're not on the right path to success. I see my future up north in Queensland at a club that is now competing for a premiership every single season. And then, days later, we also saw Jordan Ridley meet with the Brisbane Lions Football Club. Our best intercept defender. Arguably our best defender. I would say our third or second best player has also said, I'm not convinced with the direction of this club. I'm not convinced with the fitness staff, which has curtailed the prime of my career. And I'm also secretly not that rapt about the coaching and how we're performing on field. Irregardless of the injuries, I don't think we're tracking in the right direction. And then finally, to top it off, the news which came through 2 days ago. Our captain, our best player since Matthew Lloyd, so Essendon's best performer in the last 15 years, Mr. Zach Merrett, is planning to leave to go to Hawthorn, our hated rivals. Zach Merrett has gone nuclear. He said, 7 weeks ago, I'm all in. 7 weeks later, it appears he is all out. All out of reasons to stay at Essendon. The club he captains. The club he's meant to drive the standards of. The club which gave him a pay rise only 12 months ago when his head was turned in a similar fashion. I sit here today looking at Zach Merrett, one of my favourite players of all time, in disgust. I cannot believe he's chosen this moment and this time to leave Essendon. When we're at our weakest, when we're at our lowest, weeks before our best and fairest, which he is certain to win, in which he could deliver a rousing speech to invigorate and lift this dormant, once great football club. He has chosen this time right now to say, get me the hell out of here. And he's done it in a classless fashion. I've loved Zach and the way he's performed on the field for so many years. I don't know if he's a great leader on the field, but off the field, I can tell you right now, he doesn't do things the right way. We've given him everything he wanted over the last couple of seasons, apart from team success. Now, I understand team success is all he probably really wants, but we can't guarantee that. No one can guarantee that in the AFL. The GWS Giants play in the finals every year. They've played in one grand final and they got smoked in it. They're still a very successful team in my eyes. Premierships, sure, they're impossible to win, but they're competing every single year. They're doing everything they can. Zach Merrett isn't guaranteed anything at the Hawthorn Football Club. He's not guaranteed anything at any club. What he is guaranteed is the love, the passion, and the devotion of the Essendon fan base. He's guaranteed that because what he's done for the club over the last 15 years. Last 15 years? Zach's about 30. He hasn't been playing since he was 15. Since he was drafted in 2013. He's done that every single time he's put his boots on and stepped on that field. But what he's done to our supporter base, I say our, because I'm a devout and passionate Essendon member and fan, what he's done to our fan base is irreparable. He's shopped himself to any club in Victoria, it looks like, say, get me the hell out of here. And his number 1 shopping item, number 1 on his list is saying, ooh, I would love to be at Hawthorn. This rich, successful club on the other side of town, eastern suburbs. Oh, I fit right in with that DNA. Yes, and I'm going to win over there. That's my dream. To leave the club, which has given me everything, apart from team success, I said, and go to the dark side. This is not something that can be repaired with Essendon fans. You're meant to be driving the standards of this club. You're meant to be our leader. You accepted the captaincy. You were upset a few years ago when you weren't in the leadership group. Well, doesn't that say a bit about why you weren't there now? Because you weren't the man to drive us to the next level. You weren't the leader to take us out of the doldrums. Make no mistake, Essendon were in a very bad position when Zach Merrett took over as captain. Essendon achieved nothing with Dyson Heppel as captain as well. Essendon achieved nothing with Joe Watson as captain. The last captain of Essendon to achieve anything was James Hird, 20 years ago. I understand how tough the plight is for Essendon and anyone that wants to step up to be the captain of this club. But right now is when Essendon need Zach Merrett most. They need a leader. They need someone who brings excellence every single week. But instead of being the person who invigorates, that drives culture, that brings this group together, this young group which is crying out for a leader right now and someone that can help navigate them out of the toughest time that they've suffered outside the drug saga in their 150-year history, he said, I'm sorry guys, it's just too much for me. You've given me what I wanted the last couple of years, but now I see the chance to get out of here. People are comparing it to Kevin Durant leaving Oklahoma City Thunder to join the Golden State Warriors. Now, if Hawthorn win the flag in 3 weeks' time, that's a very fair comparison. I don't think it's quite at that level, but I do see it as a weak move. No one's guaranteed success. Kane Corn said this morning, did Matthew Pavlich do this? Did Nick Rewalt do this? Did Travis Boak do this? No. That's not how football works. You're not Aaron Rodgers, mate. You're not going to change teams at the back end of your career just because things aren't going well and you're not happy with management and you think the grass is greener on the other side. It's not how it works. You're the captain. You have to be the one to drag us back out. Now that might not seem fair. He's just one person. He's going to win 6 best and fairest. He doesn't have the help. He wants to win a flag. That's okay. But the way you've gone about it, the way you've done it the past couple of days, to effectively lie to Brad Scott's face, to lie to the playing group's face, to lie to the supporters' face when he said you were all in 7 weeks ago, that is how you destroy a legacy, my friend. I love watching Zach Merrett play. I've said that. I love the way he's gone about it. He is so far away being the only person on that field who looked like an A-grader, who could comfortably play at any other club. But the way he's handled himself off the field and the way that he's played these cards the last week, it's hard to reconcile as an Essendon supporter. I think Essendon have to move on from Zach Merrett. That might seem silly because he's by far our best player, but he cannot return to the club in a leadership capacity after what he's done this week. He just can't. And if that's the case, why are you bringing him back to be in your leadership group or to just be your best player and then move him on in 12 months' time? Because he's going to be unhappy. He's clearly unhappy. He's been trying to get out for the last 2 years. So he shouldn't be coming back. You know, when it comes to a trade, what would be fair for Zach Merrett? He's about to be 30 years old. I still think he is in the back end of the prime of his career. He should have been All-Australian 2 years ago, in my opinion. He's a 3-time All-Australian. He would be the perfect fit for Hawthorn. They're crying out for another star midfielder. What is he worth? Well, we just saw Tom Barrass be traded for, a first-round pick and a future second? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Zach is at a minimum a top 10 pick and then another decent asset, whether that be another future first-rounder or it be a former top 15 pick like a Cam McKenzie. That would be what the baseline would be for Zach Merrett. The reason is because Essendon have him under contract for 2 more seasons. So he can't go anywhere. He has no power in this. He might force his way out, which would look like he's doing. He might go absolutely nuclear and say, I'm not playing for you again. You got to trade me. It's only going to be Hawthorn. Well, I'm sorry. Brad Scott, Matt Rosa, Craig Vozzo, they've got the power. They do. I know players have all the power now in 2025, but they do have the power because of the contract that he signed, because of the commitment he made to the Essendon Football Club, and because of the words he said and the signature he wrote on that contract saying, I'm here. I'm here to be a great competitor, to be the leader, if that's what's asked of me, and to play football at a high level. That's what I'm getting paid $900K plus a year to do. So Essendon have that power. If a trade eventuated, which I think should eventuate, it would just be ripping off that Band-Aid. It would be a clean slate. Essendon start again with a new leader, a new captain, potentially a new leadership group, and a new direction. They might finally say, we are at ground zero. We are at the start of a list turnover. We are at the start of a rebuild. You don't have 5 picks in the top 30, potentially more now with Zach Merrett leaving, and not be able to say you're at the very beginning of a rebuild. If Essendon trade Zach Merrett, they are 5 to 10 years away from playing relevant football, in my opinion. Now, things change quickly. Hawthorn played finals a couple of years after trading a Brownlow medalist in Tom Mitchell and trading away one of their leaders in Jager O'Meara. They played finals quite quickly. And they have a good head coach, they have a good game style, and they recruited brilliantly. I don't think Essendon have any of those things. They don't have an elite head coach, by all accounts. They don't have a brilliant game style, by my account and many Essendon supporters. And their recruiting has been diabolical for the last 20 years. So I don't see Essendon rebounding quickly. I see this being a very bitter blow to our fan base and our supporters and what's been an incredibly tough and trying 20 plus years. If Zach goes, I don't wish him the best. I know he's going to play well. I know how good of a player Zach Merrett is. But I don't wish him the best because of the way he's handling himself over the last few weeks. The way he's conducting himself in the eyes of the playing group and the lack of class he has in the whole way he's tried to extricate himself from the Essendon Football Club. That's it for the Bombers for now. I sure hope Jordan Ridley stays. I'm disappointed Sam Draper's gone. But Zach, you have broken the hearts of Essendon fans all over the world. I just hope that in 20 years' time, if Essendon are successful, you're able to reconcile that relationship with the club. Because so many supporters, so many fans, so many people that love Zach Merrett, that have the number 7 on their jersey, that have his poster on their wall, they're going to find it very difficult to understand why he's done this now and the way he's done it. Let's move forward to week 2 of the AFL Finals. Let's start with Friday night football over at the Adelaide Oval. A bit of a change in tone here. It's time to talk about the actual games that matter. Essendon have been involved in any of those for a long time. It is the Hawks going over to Adelaide to take on the Adelaide Football Club. We have just the one change for each team. Josh Rachele has made the shock return after being TBC for weeks. After suffering what was a knee injury in the last month of the AFL season, he comes in and out goes Hugh Bond, who has been omitted. For Hawthorn, in comes Mitch Lewis, who kicked 4 goals in the VFL in their stirring victory over the Brisbane Lions VFL last Saturday. Out goes Culture Deer, who suffered a very mild hamstring injury in last week's finals win over the GWS Giants. Now, betting-wise, I think Adelaide are $1.80, as I checked about an hour ago. Hawthorn about $2.05, so really about 8 or 9 point margin right now. This is going to be a cracker. I cannot wait to watch this at mine with my great friend Marcus from Hawthorn, a very staunch and devoted Hawthorn supporter who was there in Western Sydney last Saturday to see another famous Hawthorn victory. How do I see this one playing out? Let me have one sip of my coffee. That's good. How do I see it playing out? I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be low possessions. People want to say, oh, hit the over here. Hit the over points. Well, I know earlier in the year when they played in Tasmania, it was diabolically low scoring. Throw that one out. That's the outlier. That's a mulligan when it comes to these two teams, Now, they played about a month ago, and it was at 105 to 80 odd. Wasn't overly high scoring, but it was a free-flowing game. Should be perfect conditions here at the Adelaide Oval. I can see it being Hawthorn 98, Crows 93. I see Hawthorn just getting home in this one. The reason why I say that is because Adelaide played some very poor football last Thursday night. They didn't handle the pressure, and their kicking skills were very below their usual standards. So you throw in that in with Hawthorn's high kicking skills, their efficiency once they get inside 50, as we saw against the Giants last week. I think the Hawks can get a lead, and similar to the lead they had a month ago, which they blew at the Adelaide Oval when they played the Crows, I think they hold on to it this time. I think the Smalls, the likes of McDonald, Watson, Ginnivan, they'll give the Crows trouble. Now, the Crows last week, they looked not frightened, but they weren't as sharp as they usually were in the back six. They panicked a little bit, They were holding the man. They were doing fumbly handballs. They couldn't handle the tackle pressure of the Pies. Now the Pies, it's a different game plan to Hawthorn. Collingwood was so high pressure in that game. Can Hawthorn play at that level? Sure. It's going to be unlikely though. That pressure rating of 250 was one of the highest pressure ratings we've ever seen in a final. Also, Darcy Moore was incredible intercepting behind the ball. Hawthorn have some good interceptors. I'm talking Barris, Battle, and Sicily. Will they play at that level? They don't necessarily need to, but I don't think anyone's going to have a game like Darcy Moore did last week. I don't think Matthew Nicks will allow that. But that's the other thing. It's a coaching mismatch still, in my opinion. Matthew Nicks had a great year in the coach's box. I think Sam Mitchell might be the best coach in football. He finds a way to adapt his game plan almost quarter by quarter, let alone week by week. I just have this feeling that Hawthorn have enough to get this done, and Hawthorn are right in this premiership race. If they can win tonight, then they then go to the MCG. They go back home to the ground they play so well to play Geelong in the preliminary final. You might think this is Vic bias. You might think this is me talking through my MCC membership, but I think that'll happen. I think we're going to get Hawks Cats for the first time since 2015. I think they played in the qualifying final when obviously Isaac Smith missed after the siren to give Geelong the victory. I just see the Hawks just getting home in this one. On a betting side of things, there's not too many high disposals I want to attack because these two teams generally have low disposal games, particularly Adelaide do. As you see their disposals from last game against the Pies, no one really hit 25 disposals. Jordan Dawson is really around that 20 to 21 disposal mark, despite the fact he's a gun. Rory Laird is probably their most reliable disposal getter because he can get it on the back line, but he was also thrown into the midfield against the Pies to help their lack of depth in that area, particularly with Isaac Rankin not being in there anymore due to his suspension. I think low disposals. I like the halfbacks from the Hawks. I like Carl Amon and I like Jarman Impey. You can see Impey's named on a halfback flank there, Amon named on a wing. They give them so much drive from that back line. And if Hawthorn want to change their game plan from a slow one to a really fast one, these are the guys that will benefit because they bring speed onto the ball. I like both of them. I like Jai Newcomb. Now, Newcomb in the finals he's played has had some of the highest rated finals of anyone in the last couple of seasons. I think he's a great player. Adelaide's lack of depth in their midfield could be exposed by Newcomb. I like him for 20. I like Amon for 20. I like Impey for 20. And for Adelaide, I like Rory Laird. I like Rory Laird because he does get kick-ins, but also because he can play multiple positions. And he's one of the few Crows who's played in big finals. So I know he won't be overawed by the whole situation. And he'll be ready to perform in what is a massive game for the Crows tonight. For their sake, hopefully they can get the win. But I think Rory Laird has that experience to get himself 20 disposals in what should be a ripping contest. Let's look forward to the Q Clash, the Pineapple Grapple, over at the Gabba on Saturday night. Now, this is a big one. I cannot wait for this one between the Gold Coast Suns and the Brisbane Lions. For the Brisbane Lions, in comes Bruce Reville, and Oscar McInerney returns to the squad. Out goes Sam Day and out goes Lachie Neale, who obviously suffered that calf injury late into the fourth quarter of their loss against Geelong last Friday night. Betting-wise, the Lions have come up at $1.65 and the Suns are about $2.10. I'll get to the exact line right now. It's pretty low. I mean, considering that these finals games are so often close encounters, the line is 8.5 points in the Brisbane Lions' favour. Oh, the biggest Q clash in history. Such a great delight for us footy fans to watch this one on Saturday night. How does it play out? We saw the Suns smash the Lions about a month and a bit ago at the Gold Coast. They won by 10 goals in what was a rain-affected game. It should be clear skies on Saturday night in Brisbane, but it's a tough one. Semi-finals are so tough to predict. Last year, we saw Brisbane come from 42 points down against the GWS Giants to set up what ultimately was a premiership winning campaign in September. Gold Coast just had a stirring victory over in Western Australia. They then fly back now from Perth to the Gold Coast and then probably drive. Do you drive down to Brisbane? I'm not sure. You guys tell me up in Queensland. But they go then from Gold Coast to Brisbane. While Brisbane played in Melbourne last week and they now come back to Brisbane. So a bit of travel for both sides. I can't see that being a deciding factor. I'm personally looking at the midfield battle. You've got so many stars in there. Anderson, Rao, McCluggage, Ashcroft, Dunkley. How does that play out? Do we see Josh Dunkley play a negating role on Matthew Rowell? Now, he's had great success in this role in the past, apart from when they last played when Matthew Rowell was close to best on ground. So they go back to that and try to limit Matt Rowell, who is such a dominant and damaging player, or do they back their midfield in to just go head-to-head and hopefully win in that area? Obviously, you've seen Oscar McInerney come back into the team, so they're playing two rucks in an attempt to stretch Gold Coast or try and wear down Wits. We're playing Fort and McInerney in this one. Midfield battle will be crucial. I think the Lions' defence is also something I'm not worried about, but it's an area of the field where they don't have their best players in anymore. You see Jack Payne go out of the team. People think Jack Payne, he's just a lockdown, dour negator. He's a very strong, very capable premiership defender. Also, you don't have Noah Answorth. Now, Noah Answorth is a back pocket, he's a half-back flanker. These players get no credit. But when it comes to a defense, it's all about structure, it's about connectivity, and it's about chemistry. Brisbane are missing two members of their back six, which they've had for the majority of the year. Throw in a Kadeem Coleman, who they envisaged having a big role this year. They don't quite have their full complement down back. Gold Coast, they're pretty much full strength apart from Charlie Ballard, who suffered an ACL injury, very early in the season. So I think their back six is well connected together and they're playing good football. They're obviously up, 25, 27 points early in that game against Fremantle. So they're playing some pretty devastating attacking halfback football with pace on it as well. It's so hard to predict. But I do think the Gold Coast Suns have enough to win this one just due to the health of their side. Brisbane are missing probably 4 or 5 of their absolute best 22, while Gold Coast are really only missing Charlie Ballard, who they've gone the whole season without. I think they're a healthier team. I think they're playing better football. This is crazy to think because they lost to Port Adelaide in the game that would have given them top 4. But the way it's shaken out, Gold Coast win this. They're in a prelim final anyway. It's going to be 8.5 points. That's the line. I think it's going to be around that margin. Gold Coast just get it done, and Brisbane have a really disappointing return to the finals after winning the premiership last year, going out in straight sets. But ultimately, they will pick up Sam Draper, they will pick up Oscar Allen, and they might even pick up Jordan Ridley as well. So this is their chance to rebuild, to go again, and launch for 2026, hopefully with Lachie Neale returning to the team, fully recovered from that calf injury. It should be a cracker. Betting-wise, I don't mind John Noble for 20 disposals. He had about 30 last time they played. I don't mind Will Power for 15 disposals. He's been going at about 18 to 20 most weeks. Had some crucial contests last week over in Perth. He was fantastic. I also don't mind, who do I like from the Gold Coast? Go to Brisbane, I like Jasper Fletcher. Always like Jasper Fletcher. Particularly with Lachie Neale out, we see him get more and more up the field around stoppages on a wing half-forward role. He's also a great first-use, first-receive player, so I see Fletcher having a prominent role. And then, finally, I like Will Ashcroft. Now, Will Ashcroft for 25 disposals. He had 25 when they got thumped by the Gold Coast Suns about a month or so ago. But since then, he's been having 25, 30. He's a high-possession player, and with Lachie Neale out, only more importance on his role and what he'll be asked to carry on Saturday evening. I like Will. And he's proven it. He's proven he can get high possessions in big games. He was last year's Norm Smith medalist. So I think 25, particularly if they did decide to tag on McCluggage, which is not something that Damien Hardwick usually does, is tag. It would be McCluggage that gets tagged and Will Ashcroft would get off the chain. So I like Wilbur for this one. I've got the Gold Coast Suns just winning, but I wouldn't be surprised with either result. Sorry, I'm coughing. I'm choking like Essendon. Fuck. And having said that, I think it's going to be a really close game, and I wouldn't be surprised with either result. I just hope it's a cracking contest. Well, that's it for Slam Talk Sports for this week. It was a terrible week as an Essendon fan. Pretty much people blowing up my phone every 2 seconds. Just snivelling, conniving, arrogant, gleeful Hawthorn fans going the whole time. We're getting Merrett. We're getting Merrett. You're so fucking finished, Essendon. And I don't appreciate that. Okay. Now, do I use it as a marketing tool? Do I turn it into a TikTok that's seen by 30,000 people? Sure, I will do that. I will go full Das does footy. I'll become the marketing guru. But deep inside me, there is pain, there is sorrow, there is anguish, and there's tears. There's tears inside me, and also tears rolling down my face at all times, because my football club appears to be chalked. We appear to be destined for 20 years of misery. I hope not. I really do hope not. Bombers fans, if you can cheer me up, you can send me a DM, you can tell me about why it's all going to be okay, I would appreciate that. But this weekend's going to be tough. I love footy. It's going to be nice to watch some good footy, but boy, am I going to cop it from all sides because the Bombers look like they're in absolute shit. Also, this weekend, we've got the EPL returning. Yes, now I haven't had a close look at the fixture. Ooh, I'm hoping we've got a good early game on Saturday night. Are they still doing it on Channel 9? I think they might have stopped that. Anyway, 9:30 tomorrow, we've got Arsenal taking on Nottingham Forest. That's a great early game because Big Ange is back. Oh yes, Ange Postecoglou has returned to the English Premier League after being sacked by Tottenham a couple of months ago. He is now the head manager or coach, what do they say over in England, of Nottingham Forest, that proud club, a two-time Champions League winning club, I might add, something Arsenal's never done. But yes, Nottingham Forest have appointed Big Ange on an 18-month contract. Interesting, he's only got 18 months. Do they have a lot of confidence in him? Do they just think that, let's give him a year and a bit and see if he's any good before we sack him and get someone better? I'm unsure. But to have Big Ange have another chance in the big leagues is awesome, particularly at a club that's playing European football. Ange won the Europa League last year. He might win it again. He might just be the Unai Emery of the Premier League, even though there already was an Unai Emery of the Premier League. He might be the new Unai Emery of the Premier League. Love Big Ange. Love what he's doing. Hold on. We've just got a report. Hold on. This is live and breaking. Stephen King is the new coach of the Melbourne Football Club. What the hell? Kingy is in. Not David King, Stephen King, the former ruckman for the Geelong Football Club and the St Kilda Football Club. This is live and breaking here on Slam Talk Sports. Nathan Buckley will not be the coach of Melbourne after being linked to it so heavily over the past couple of weeks. What does that mean for Bucks? Does it mean Tasmania is back on the agenda? Potentially. But Stephen King is the coach of Melbourne. Now, I know he spent some time at the Gold Coast, correct me if I'm wrong, but very highly credentialed. Interesting appointment, very interesting. They went with someone that doesn't have senior experience. They went with someone who's well regarded, someone that's been a premiership player in the AFL ranks, a very good career, a leader at Geelong. But interesting, they didn't go with someone with the gravitas and the experience of Nathan Buckley. Also, I say they, who's making these calls? They don't have a board. Brad Green sacked Goodwin after a couple of good performances and just said, get out of here. So I don't know who's making the calls at Melbourne, but they've made this one. And Stephen King is the new coach of the Melbourne Football Club. More on that on the next episode of Slam Talk Sports. Until then, enjoy the weekend, enjoy the footy finals, enjoy the Premier League, enjoy the NFL. We just saw the Green Bay Packers take down the Washington Commanders. For some reason, my man, Bill Krosky Merrett, disappeared at halftime. More on that next week. But yes, enjoy a marvellous weekend of sport. I'll be here, as always, at Slam Talk Sports. Oh, and enjoy the EDFL Premier Prelim Final. Yes, the top divvy in the EDFL will play out on Sunday at Coburg City Oval as Keilor, yes, Mick McGowan's Keilor, who got thrashed in the first final, will take on Airport West, who had a stirring cover behind last second victory last Sunday at Salesian College Oval against Aberfeldy. Until then, enjoy all the sports. This was Slam Talking the Sports. Check out my tips and review on Fancast, and also all my content on TikTok, Instagram, and now on Twitter. Have a great time. Go Bombers. Please, please, please let me see the light.